Joining us in studio today is Linda Moss, who is here speaking with me on behalf of her sisters Sharon Wilson and Patty Raperti, who are the daughters of Bob Wilson, who recently passed away June 8th in 2019 after complications resulting from a severe pressure wound. Linda, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Candace. I appreciate you having me here today.
So your story went viral.
Yes.
When it first came to our attention. So tell me, how did this story evolve then? Let's start at the beginning.
2019 is a year that we're glad to kind of say goodbye to. It was very tragic for our family, but there's a lot of lessons that have come out of that year, and that's for sure. Our father was a very active 77-year-old, avid golfer, weekly bowler. It's all started with a phone call that he fell down the stairs. And he was rushed to Hamilton for emergency brain surgery. And we didn't know if we would ever get our father back. So basically, my sisters and I, we worked tirelessly daily to rehabilitate him. And we started to see him progressing and progressively well. It wasn't until probably January, or actually February, when we started to notice a decline in his health. And we couldn't figure out why he was declining. Even the doctors couldn't figure out why. They've done several tests, and he was just getting worse and worse. I would say probably late March, we were told that he had a pressure ulcer. And how we were told is it was red and irritated, and they're treating it. So we didn't think anything of it, and we went on to try to bring our father back.
So a pressure ulcer, though, just so I understand, that's a bedsore, essentially.
It's a bedsore.
Okay.
Yep. And that happens when you're immobile, and you're not moving. We didn't know what a bedsore was when we went in, and that's why we kind of speak today, because since our story aired, and that's why we've gone to the media to kind of educate a lot of people on what a bedsore is and how it can happen. We're not medical experts by any means, but we definitely have learned a lot being a patient of a family member that's in long-term care. So when we found out that he had the pressure ulcer, we thought it was minor. So we found out he was being transferred back to Hamilton to have his skull flap put back in. And we thought that would help him get his alertness back and bring him back. We were trying everything to try to bring him back. When he was transferred to the hospital, that's when they made the discovery that he had a unstageable pressure ulcer. So much so that it has now gone into his bloodstream and his bone.
Unstageable meaning untreatable.
Untreatable. So there's basically 4 stages of a pressure ulcer, stage 4 being the most severe. He was unstageable. So I think the heartbreaking part of all of this is we didn't know how severe it was, and we didn't focus on it because the doctor didn't even mention it.
And so you were there every day.
We were there every day. We were there every day, and we didn't know. So it's heartbreaking because we never had a chance to save our father's life. We never had a chance to work with the medical community, and the nurses and the doctors were great, but there was a lack of communication, and that's why we speak today, because it's very important that hospitals or long-term care facilities be transparent with families. What's happening under those sheets?
Right.
You have to have that conversation, and we didn't have that conversation. We didn't know.
And I think this is important too, because it's not just the medical community; it's the families that need to know and to advocate for the patient and to watch for it as well.
Yep, absolutely. And within our learnings, there's 4 C's that we've kind of come up with that have helped us and will help other families as well. The biggest one with the C is communication. Communication needs to happen week 1 when your loved one's in long-term care. You need to sit with the doctor and the relative teams and say, how are we going to treat this patient? And because he's in long-term care, this is what can happen. A pressure ulcer can form, and this is what we're going to do about it. We never had that meeting. We never had anything told to us about a pressure ulcer. And that's why we speak today, because one of those C's, communication, is so important when it comes to working together as family and medical community. How can we come together as a team to help each other for the same common goal, which is the patient. The next one that I talk about also is champion. That's the other C. We have to advocate for our loved ones. We have to educate ourselves on what the issues are and, really advocate for them. The next one is companionship and comfort. They kind of go together. Is that patient comfortable? They're there for a while. So bring in pictures from home, pillows or blankets or things that make them comfortable. There's a lot of hospitals that all you hear all day is beep, beep, beep of the machines. Bring in some music, whether it's an old radio player, something that they can listen to. Music is therapeutic. And a lot of hospitals don't have music or anything for them to listen to.
And I think this is a really good question, too, because when a patient is not able to communicate with you, how do you determine comfort, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you even have to be more diligent at that point.
Absolutely. Are they cold? Are they in pain? Looking at their facial reactions. My dad couldn't talk, so he couldn't tell us how he was, but we felt his arms. Is he dry? We'll put moisturizer on. Just little things that mean a lot. We massaged my dad. We did things to my dad that I never thought I would do. Wash his hair, brush his teeth, put moisturizer on his limbs. Mm-hmm. The one thing we didn't do was look under those sheets. We didn't look under those sheets. And I wish we did, because that would have made all of the difference in the world. Another thing that's really important is to document their progress, because it's kind of like the Drake song, started from the bottom, now we're here. You started here as a brain injury, and how are you progressing? So if you do get better, this is where you are now, Dad. This is where you've come from, because you don't remember where you started, but you are here now. We didn't have the now. The now never came for us.
So is there like a checklist that people should almost look for or have that they should go through sort of daily with somebody in long-term care?
I actually brought that up in a recent conference. I've had the honor of working with Wounds Canada, and they've been amazing for our family to help us with because a lot of people have reached out to us, with wounds since our story aired. It was one of the biggest stories in 2019. And thank God for the media and media outlets like this that help us raise awareness and help us get the message out that, you know what, family, you can be there and you can do the help too. You can work with the medical communities to work together. But one of the things that I did bring up was kind of like an onboarding. With every job, there's kind of like an onboarding process. So in every hospital, there should be some kind of onboarding. You walk into this big, bright, beautiful facility, you're scared, you don't know where to go, you don't know what to do, you don't know what to ask. So here's some things that you can do as a loved one, knowing that your loved one's going to be in there for a while. This is some things that you can do. And that's kind of what I'm working with now with the 4 C's, right? Like the communication, the comfort, the companionship, the champion. You've got to document the progress. So not only is it good for the doctors, because you're their eyes, they're only there for a millisecond in the room. But most of the time when they were coming in to see my dad, he was asleep, being a brain injury patient. So we showed them video. This is what he's doing. And they'd be like, oh my God, he's doing that. He's crossing his legs. He's shaking hands. He's got all the motions. So it changes their, we got physiotherapy in for him after we showed that. So you have to be their eyes, their ears, their voice. And that's what we did. We thought we did everything right by asking every question, but it's up to them to let us know what's happening elsewhere. He came in for one thing, but he came out and left the hospital with another thing.
Right.
So that's why it upsets us so much. And
it's a heartbreaking story.
It is heartbreaking.
But I have to say, you and your sisters have been amazing through all of this, because I know that when this happened, it wasn't, you were positive from the outset. You brought good information to people, and you've just been tireless in getting this information out for people. And I think it's important because we are in the sandwich generation, right? So we're all stretched thin, but the more you know, the better. Right?
Absolutely.
And so most people listening to this might think, I wouldn't have thought to look for a bedsore.
Right.
And now they know. And so you are saving lives.
Thank you. I think we can do better, all of us. And we have seen changes in hospitals. We've seen it. There's more awareness now in pressure ulcers. The word is getting out. I hear from people all the time, and we've become kind of a little bit of the face of pressure ulcers. If you Google Bob Wilson, his story is all over the internet. It's not what we wanted for his legacy, but I also don't want his legacy to be that Bob Wilson died of this. I want him to be remembered as a man that has helped make change happen. And I think that's really important. And, we still cry every week. There'll be a certain song that'll hit. But I think for me, helping others is really, it's kind of helping me to heal. I try not to get emotional, but it's just, it's been a tough year. That's all. And so all you can do is just, you learn. I feel with every passing, there is a teachable moment and a lesson learned for people. And this has been a lesson and a teachable moment for our family. And we just want to pay tribute to my father. And hopefully he's up there looking down at us and saying, you go, girls, and make sure this doesn't happen to any other family. It shouldn't. It really shouldn't happen to anybody else.
Well, I thank you so much for coming into the studio and sharing this story. It is really, it's a really important story, and I'm sure that you've helped somebody today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate.
And we'll put up Wounds Canada.
Yeah. Wounds Canada is who we're working with. There's another great organization called the Angel Project.
Okay.
And they are amazing at going in and helping patients that are in hospitals that are alone. They are kind of advocates for any kind of patient who needs stuff that we just talked about, comfort stuff. So there's 2 organizations that we're honored to partner with, and thank you so much for mentioning them because they do a lot of great work, and they've been instrumental in helping our family through this whole horrific tragedy that we're trying to turn into something better to help. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.